And week 4, day 13. Welcome in, everyone, to our Eagles camp recap with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. It's football 24/7 as we come to you on a Monday. Man, I can feel the excitement here, or I did today, from what was happening down in South Philadelphia, Johnny Mac. Let's start there. The big guy was in town, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots for the first of 2 practices with the team.
Yeah, and I think it was a little bit exciting, a little bit of juice as we get to the dog days of August, Krause, and the fact that you see a different team and you get different looks. I mean, bottom line, you get used to playing against the same people every day. So I think it's really important to get those different looks. And obviously, the one thing, especially we talked to veteran players, Brandon Graham earlier in the week, Joe Flacco, they know. The one thing about the Patriots, you can say, the talent level goes up and down. Obviously, that's cyclical in the NFL. We're seeing that here in Philadelphia. There's no more Tom Brady. But one thing you know about New England, they're always prepared the right way. So it's just a good team to practice against because they're going to do things right. And that's the kind of respect people have for Bill Belichick, and it's well-deserved.
I would say, going as we begin the report tonight, Johnny Mac, it's Bill Belichick 1, Nick Sirianni 0. And I base that on the mere fact of the negotiations that took place, which you talked about on Saturday, about coming in for the practice, resulted in Nick Sirianni getting outside of his element today and having a much, much longer practice than the normal average 70-minute practice.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it worked. I think it worked for the Eagles, and maybe you learned something because I was talking to Xander, our producer, before we came on the air. I thought it was their best practice of the summer from an offensive standpoint, certainly, and I'm talking about the Eagles. So, it was about 2 hours, certainly the longest practice for the Eagles. The Patriots are going to practice that long. That's what they do. We were all joking when we got there. I mean, the Patriots were working before the Eagles. They went about through 3 install periods, and the Eagles were still stretching. Just different philosophies. I know, a big part of what the Eagles do is driven by sports science and the medical staff and the training staff, and the Patriots go about it a different way. I think a lot of the Eagles' beliefs are sort of reactionary because of the past couple seasons and how many injuries they've had. And I think if they look at it a little bit more realistically, it probably has more to do with age and an aging roster than shortening up practice. Maybe they'll get to that point. Maybe they won't. But I think that's sort of a story that will be told as we move along.
John, do you think there is, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds on this conversation, but the point was raised in one of our camp reports about the validity of actually practicing longer to get better. And if they're not doing that, or they're consistently practicing much less on a daily basis, they're just eliminating time from the process of getting better. I don't know if I'm phrasing it correctly, but I'm trying to get to the point of, man, the more you practice, the better you play.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But there's a lot of limitations in the modern NFL that have nothing to do with the Eagles' belief system, and that's the collective bargaining agreement and the fact that the players have negotiated this big scale back as far as time you can be on the practice field. So ultimately, it comes down to what coach utilizes the time you do have the best. And the Eagles have sort of come to this conclusion. And by the way, I don't think it's the coaching staff. I don't think it's Nick Sirianni. I think it's Howie Roseman. I think it's the medical staff and the training staff. have come to the conclusion the better option is to get to week one as healthy as possible. I think it's a legitimate argument. I know Doug Peterson went the opposite direction. He used to scale back practices later in the season to sort of get his veteran players to the finish line as opposed to early in the season. Had a lot of success with it, certainly during the Super Bowl season, and then making the playoffs again. The two seasons after that, and you sort of use the same formula. Maybe you should use it the entire season. I think that's what the Eagles are thinking.
All right, fair enough. We'll move on from that conversation. We'll keep updating the daily averages. Certainly the 2-hour practice today skews the average a little bit as we begin week 4, day 13, football 24/7 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with NFL insider John McMullen, co-host, of course, of Birds 365. Let's talk about that offense today. That's exciting, the best that the offense has looked. This on the heels of some frustration on Saturday with Jalen Hurts. So define what you mean by, give us a look at what you mean by the best offensive day for the club.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with Jalen Hurts. I think he probably had his best practice of the summer. I think Jalen Reagor certainly had his best practice of the summer. I think Jalen was a little bit more consistent with the intermediate routes that have been a problem for him. So that's a positive. He just had a good day overall. And as I said, I think Jalen Reagor had a good day. So you start putting players together who maybe haven't performed that consistently and they play pretty well. All of a sudden you got a good practice on your hand. I think the most important part, though, is Krause, is they come back tomorrow and do it again, because that's what we keep talking about, consistency. And we haven't seen that consistency from practice to practice that with the players the Eagles have to count on. So another good day would tell you, hey, maybe they're headed in the right direction.
Did Quez Watkins enjoy practice reps again today with the first team?
Yeah, he did. And Quez was one of those guys who, in the intermediate zones as well as going down the field, the bubble screen. I got to tell you, everybody saw the bubble screen that went 79 yards. I think the Eagles ran that damn thing 3 times today. They're going to run it a lot with different players, not only Quez Watkins, but Jalen Reagor. And we'll see if people start to figure out what they're doing. But that's going to be a big staple of their offense.
Of course, you can follow John McMullen on Twitter throughout the day. John puts out a lot of pics and little videos and captions from camp when he can. One of them today posted on social media was Devontae Smith back at practice and perhaps a little bit more involved today for the first time in a little while. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, he was back at practice, so he had his helmet and all the good stuff, and he was in a limited fashion, so he only worked in individual work, some of the jug guns. He wasn't in team drills. No surprise there. I don't think the Eagles are going to push him this week for the game on Thursday night. But the fact that he's back at practice with his teammates, with his helmet, and he can do certain things tells you he's headed in the right direction. And, that's good because they need him for week 1. I was just talking about their whole philosophy about the scaled back practices. This is about week 1. And they want to get Devontae Smith back for week 1. I do think he'll probably play a little bit in the final preseason game, but I would be stunned if they try to get him on the field by Thursday night.
And then Jalen Reagor was active in practice today offensively. I'm assuming if the offense had a good day, Reagor had a good day as well.
Yeah, I thought he had his best day of the summer so far. Still a little bit inconsistent, which is kind of disappointing. I know he had a big touchdown. It was about a 60-yard touchdown, so that got everybody excited. Um, and then he came back in a hurry-up drill, and I know Jalen Hurts thought it was a touchdown. It wasn't. It happened to be right in front of me, and I saw the official. He threw his hat on the field, indicating that Jalen stepped out of bounds, and then he came back in. And I don't even think he caught the pass, to be honest. I think it hit the ground. But most people thought it was a touchdown. Jalen was happy about it. They finished up a 2-minute drill. Those kind of little things, guy like Jalen Rager's got to clean up. You can't step out of bounds, obviously. You can't let a really good pass hit the turf. And if it didn't, it was real close because I saw football hitting the ground. So that part of it is still a work in progress. But overall, he had his best practice by far.
John, do you have a thought as to why Jalen Reagor is inconsistent at times?
A lot of young players are inconsistent because it's a grind. We always talk about this sport it's a grind from day to day and how much you have to prepare and how much you have to practice and how much you have to stay focused. And, experience matters. It really does. And trying to learn how to be a professional. And I think too often people assume kids coming out of college are going to hit the ground running. And a lot of times it takes a little bit. And I think it's taking a little bit of time with Jalen Reagor and hopefully gets there. But it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, I don't know. For what it's worth, if I'm a number one pick on a football team and in the first preseason game, I watched the 6th-round pick sprint the field and have a much better day than me, I think from a competitive nature, I'm going to look to step to the front of the class. Is he not doing that, or?
No, I think he's competitive. One thing, Jeff Kerr, who was, in for me today on Birds 365, asked me that this morning. He said, ultimately, does it matter? If you're able to get a big time receiver and it happens to be the 6th-round pick and not the 1st-round pick, does it matter? Now, I'm not saying Quez Watkins is going to be that. But logically, it doesn't matter if Quez Watkins turns into a star receiver. You still got a star receiver, but from a standpoint and how people react to it, from Howard Roseman's perspective, if you miss on a 1st-round pick, that haunts you, that follows you. Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter if you found a receiver somewhere else. People look at that 1st-round pick and have expectations. You just said it. He's a 1st-round pick. He'll forever be a 1st-round pick. And he's got to perform like people expect a 1st-round pick to perform. But guess what? If Quez Watkins is better, and he should be out there. Now, look, both players got a long way to go. Quez Watkins isn't a star because he had a 79-yard touchdown in the preseason. But we've seen a lot of positive developments with Quez Watkins. Haven't seen as many with Jalen Reagor. But Jalen's got more physical talent, more physical gifts, and hopefully he can make them pay off. No guarantee, obviously.
Has Jalen Hurts been officially named the starter for the 2021 season?
No, Nick Sirianni, for whatever reason, will not do that. I don't know. He doesn't want his thought process is you don't want to hand something to a young player. You don't want to anoint him. You want him to earn it. He hasn't named Jordan Mailata the starter at left tackle, even when the competition is injured and can't be out there. He still won't name Jordan Mailata the starter. Just sort of a mindset he has. But I'll remind everybody, Jalen Hurts has not missed a snap with the first team. Not one snap. Not to tie a shoe. Not for a bathroom break, not for a equipment malfunction. Every single first team rep the Eagles have had, Jalen Hurts has been the quarterback. And Joe Flacco said that the other day. He hasn't been named the starter. He's the starter. And if he isn't the starter week 1 in Atlanta, it will have nothing to do with anyone who was here. You can read that how you want.
So, in other words, Joe Flacco is having a good camp. He knows his role, and that's going to be his role. But it's nice to see Joe Flacco having a good camp and also had a good game and a good game last Thursday night.
Yeah, Joe's a good backup quarterback in this league. I think if people do watch preseason football, I often talk about Eagles fans and NFL fans in general are very provincial. They pay attention to their teams. They don't really pay attention to other teams. There's a lot of bad backup quarterbacks in the NFL, and you get to see it in the preseason, and you see some really, really ugly football. Joe Flacco, even at 36 years old, is very, very capable, can still do some nice things. Obviously, doesn't have the greatest mobility in the world, but when you compare him to other backup quarterbacks, it's not bad. It really isn't. It's well above average as backup quarterback.
Forget the competition, just inside the quarterback room. Does Joe Flacco or can Joe Flacco help Jalen Hurts?
Oh, sure. I mean, the guy's been around for a long time. He's won a Super Bowl. I think forget about the Super Bowl. There was a stretch of 6 or 7 years in Baltimore where Joe Flacco not only made the playoffs every year, he won at least one playoff game. That's really impressive, that kind of consistency. It's not easy to make the playoffs in the NFL and win a playoff game every year. Baltimore had that run going with Joe Flacco till he tore his ACL and things went a little bit south. This guy's won a lot of games in the NFL. And I remember Zach Ertz Joe was at doing an interview, and somebody asked him some kind of question. And Zach said, because he's been doing it for so long, he's been slinging it for so long, he's got tremendous respect amongst the players. Miles Sanders, who's a Pittsburgh native, remember Baltimore and Pittsburgh, probably have the best rivalry in the NFL right now. Said he was starstruck when he walked into the Eagles facility for the first time and he saw him. He's got a lot of respect for how much success he's had in the NFL.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen. It's our Eagles camp recap, week 4, day 13. More conversation in just a moment. Let's pause, John, just for a second. Set the schedule now for the rest of the week. The teams practice again tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm assuming, is just a walkthrough and prep for the game on Thursday night.
Yeah. Tuesday, another full-scale practice, same as today. Start about 10 in the morning. Wednesday, the Eagles will have a walkthrough for the game Thursday night. And it's Patriots, Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. And I think you'll see a little bit more from the first team. I think you'll see it ramped up. They played about 2 series. Some guys only 1 series. I think they'll ramp that up a little bit. And most people are going to have interest in Jalen Hurts for obvious reasons. We'll talk to Nick Sirianni before practice tomorrow. We'll see if he gives us any insight how much more he's going to play. I think reps is important for Jalen Hurts, but we'll see what the Eagles think.
Last thing from the offensive side of the ball, Zach Ertz. What kind of practice did he have today against the Patriot defense?
Yeah, I mean, I've said that Zach is probably had the best camp for the offensive skill position players coming into today. I don't think he had his best day today. Dropped a a pass in 7-on-7s that turned into an interception for Jalen Hurts. So I don't think it was his best day, but overall, Zach Ertz has had a very good camp. And it was funny because he caught up with Bill Belichick after, and Belichick told him he's going to get him at one point, and said, I think he said how he wants 2 first-round picks. So he can't get, obviously he was joking. He doesn't want that much, but Zach's another one of those guys. You know, when you have the greatest coach of all time saying he's going to get you at some point, he's going to get you to play for him at some point, that's pretty good.
We'll transition our conversation into the defensive side of the ball. I guess let me lead in with this, John. There is a quarterback competition, I think, maybe there is, going on for Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots. Cam Newton, Mac Jones, are they battling for a starting position or no?
I think they are. Now, the Patriots don't frame it that way. They say Cam's going to be the starter, but obviously they drafted Mac Jones in the first round, and he's going to be their long-term answer at quarterback. At least that's the plan. So the only question is how quick do you get there? I can say Cam did not look good today. The defense, Eagles defense, kind of dominated. Too many mistakes. Mac Jones didn't exactly look good himself. So I don't know where they are, but Mac Jones is going to be on the field. It's just a matter of how quickly that happens. And if you're late in your career, like Cam Newton, the only way to stay on the field, we know, is win games. If he wins games, he'll stay on the field. If he loses, he's probably going to have a relatively quick hook, and they'll go to their first-round pick.
I think you referred to it as friendly fire in your Sports Illustrated article after practice today. Tell me what happened to Darius Slay. He did go down and he did leave the field, and then ultimately watched, I guess, the rest of the practice. Is that how it played out?
Yeah, a little bit of a scary situation. It was basically one of those things where 2 defensive backs are going for the football, and Avonte Maddox kind of crashed into Darius Slay, fell to the turf a little bit awkwardly, stayed down for a little bit, and ultimately was able to leave the field under his own power. I did see him after practice, and he was smiling, and his wife was there, and he was having a good time meeting, you know, with the Patriots and talking to some people he knows. So I don't think it's serious by any stretch of the imagination, because obviously they would have taken him inside. He was having his typical Slay good time after practice, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
Just curious, John, what does happen when practice concludes? Do the teams have time? Do they allow the guys to catch up with each other, or off go the Patriots until tomorrow? They jump on the bus and they're out of there.
No, you know, for the media, you know, when practice ends, obviously you have interview sessions with the media, and during that time, takes about an hour or so. The players often are milling around doing extra work. Sometimes you're catching on the jugs gun if you're a receiver, you know, working on your footwork if you're an offensive lineman. So a lot of the guys who know each other, they exchange greetings. It was a big family day at NovaCare today. So, you know, Julie Ertz was there again. So players' wives, players' girlfriends. So sort of like a barbecue at the end without the barbecue. People milling around, saying hi.
Well, we'll get the John McMullen practice game ball before we do get out of here. Anything else, Johnny, that came through your lens today that's worth putting out there that you saw from the joint practice today?
Nelson Aguilar and Jalen Mills back. I mean, obviously former Eagles, big parts of the Super Bowl 52 team. So it was good to see those 2 guys having fun as well. You know, Howie Roseman hugged Nelson, had a few good moments with Jalen as well. So it was good to see those two guys who were, always very professional when it comes to dealing with people like us, the media, and things very accessible. And they spoke today. So it was good catching up with those guys. And that leads me into my game ball, even though the Eagles had, in my opinion, their best practice of the summer, certainly from the offensive standpoint, maybe not the defense, but certainly the offensive standpoint. I'm giving the game ball to the best player on the field today, and the best player on the field today was Nelson Aguilar.
Wow.
Just had about 5 receptions, was just killing the Eagles secondary. You could tell he downplayed it after, but you could tell it was important to him to show off in his return to the NovaCare complex. And he did. He made a catch that you would never see him make in Philadelphia. I thought it was a play of the day. Cam Newton threw a fade pattern down the sidelines on the outside shoulder. So for old school baseball fans, you remember Willie Mays' famous catch where he's looking over his shoulder to haul it in. That's what Nelson Aguilar did. And obviously his biggest weakness when he was here was tracking the football in the air. It was always open, tremendous athleticism, tremendous speed, had really difficult time tracking the football. This is one of those catches that would make, Randy Moss or Jerry Rice blush. Just a phenomenal catch. He was great. As I said, 5 catches that I saw. He probably had more because, you got to toggle between fields. And most of them were big plays down the football field. Just had a great day.
Just for clarity, when you say killing the secondary by a long shot, like the only guy on the field, nobody was with him, or what?
No, I mean, these are NFL players. Somebody's always within earshot. But for instance, on 2 occasions, the Eagles were playing zone, and he was able to find the soft spot between the corner and the safety in that 20, 25-yard range. One time it was Mike Jaquette and Elijah Riley. The other time it was Zach McPherson and Elijah Riley, cornerback safety tandem. We've talked a lot about Zach McPherson. He's had a great camp as a rookie player. Did not have a great day today because Nelson kind of ate his lunch.
How about Jalen Mills? Did he get burnt? Was he toast today? Did he make a lot of good plays today?
No, the biggest thing with Jalen is it was kind of funny. He was Jordan Mailata, who, for people that have never met Jordan, and Jalen Mills certainly has, he's 6'8", I'm going to say 380 at the present time. He is a big man. Big men look at Jordan Mailata and say, that's a big man. So the Patriots were offside, and Jalen Mills was near the line of scrimmage. Jordan Mailata tapped his helmet to draw the offsides to get the flag from the officials. And Jalen didn't like that, and he pushed Jordan Mailata in the back. And that was the biggest chippy part of the practice. And I told Jalen after, I said, that's not the guy you want to push. But Jordan just laughed about it after. It's just one of those things. I wasn't happy about it. But Jalen didn't stand out as much as Nelson, positively or negatively. You didn't see a lot of negative, but you didn't see a lot of positive either.
Eagles Camp Recap with John McMullen, Week 4, Day 13, across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. On August 16th, the practice game ball goes to Nelson
Aguilar.
Goes to Nelson Aguilar.
I don't think I ever gave him one when he was here, but now he's got one.
All right, good stuff from John McMullen. Back tomorrow from the NovaCare on Birds 365, of course, with Jody Mack and Jeff Kerr. We'll be right back here tomorrow night with Week 4, Day 14. nothing on Wednesday, right, John? Walkthrough for the team and prep for Thursday, and then the game on Thursday night.
Exactly. Walk through Wednesday, game on Thursday. Then we ramp up again and we start talking about the weekend practices, and then they're going to have joint practices with the New York Jets.
By the way, John, first cut down date coming up soon, right?
Tomorrow at 4:00 is you got to get down to 85. Now the Eagles already started that with Adrian Killins and Caleb Wilson, so they got to cut 3 more players. It goes from this year. It goes from 90 to 85, then 85 to 80, and then you got the big cut, which is 80 all the way down to 53.
And from 85 to 80 is what, a week from tomorrow?
Yeah, it's after next week's game. So after this week's game. So yeah, you have the 2 small cuts and then the big boy after preseason week number 3.
All right, good stuff from NFL insider John McMullen. Week 4, day 13 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. On behalf of John McMullen, who awarded his preseason game ball to Nelson Aguilar today, I'm Joe Krause. See you next time. If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.